Before we get into the second half of the program, I just want to make a couple of additional comments on the upcoming season relative to the schedule, and then also some rules enforcements this year as outlined by the NCAA Rules Committee. Let's begin with the schedule. The GPAC will be going into their second year of a 9-game conference schedule. This will be a flip schedule from last year, so it will be a complete round-robin schedule within the conference, everybody playing each other one time. The predominant part of the schedule will start on September the 8th. There will be one game on September 1. That's Briar Cliff and Doane. They will play early. They moved that up into what would have been their bye week, so both could pick up non-conference games. Just a sampling of some of the non-conference teams on our schedule this year, and for the most part, a lot of these are home games in the GPAC this year, whereas last year was a lot of road games. And you've heard some of these names mentioned by the coaches already here today, but Southwestern Kansas, Benedictine, Kansas is in the group. We have Dakota State on quite a few schedules once again. Graceland makes its way into the GPAC this year for Briar Cliff, so that'll be interesting to play a team that we haven't seen up in our way in a while. And then Waldorf is also on the schedule for some teams in the conference. So, this is not a new year for rules, but there were 4 main rules interpretations handed down by the NCAA that will be in place this year, and you may have heard these talked about already, but just to briefly run through them. Kickoffs will be from the 35 this year, not the 30. The 35, not the 30. Touchbacks on kickoffs will go to the 25. Kickoffs only to the 25-yard line. This is probably going to be the most interesting one to watch late in the game when it's tight, and that has to do with being able to signal fair catches or protection on onside kicks. Created a lot of discussion this morning as to how that's going to work. Basically, if the ball is up in the air and the receiving team waves their hand, they are to be given that opportunity now to have that ball. That is a safety interpretation on that one. And finally, kind of a return to an old rule on the punt returns. The yard halo is back in force again. This all has to do with safety. So, obviously 2 of them really all of these have to do with safety. They're all designed to kind of put less contact in the game, especially in what was deemed some of the more dangerous plays of football. So, if you have questions on those, you can see me afterwards. I'll get interpretations to you, or you can talk to any of the coaches. They sat through the rules meeting this morning as well. So just an update on the rules and the schedule for 2012 in the GPAC. We move on to the second half of the program, and coach number 1 to the podium is in his second year now at Hastings College, and that is Tony Harper. The Broncos were 6-4 last year overall. They went 5-4 in the GPAC for year number 2. Here's Coach Harper with Hastings College.
Thank you, Corey. First off, I'd like to thank again Corey Wester for organizing this. I would also like to thank Country Inn and Suites for hosting us and having us here today. I would like to thank all the media who came out today to listen to us talk. Y'all do a great job. We really appreciate your coverage for not only the football, but the GPAC in general throughout the entire year. I would also like to thank Mike Will and Nick from in town coming all the way out from Hastings, Nebraska, long hour-and-a-half drive. So hopefully you got here to get back in time. A little bit about me. I'm not a big suit and tie guy. Even though I got one of these things on, I like to talk with my hat or with my hands, and I like to talk pretty fast. So this one should go pretty fast for us all. The next people I'd like to recognize is our coaching staff. Dave Camara, assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach. Joe Holtzclaw, our offensive coordinator and O-line coach. Rich Mason, our recruiting coordinator and wide receivers coach. Pat McCauley, our running backs coach. Jordan Brown, our special teams coordinator and D-line coach. Jordan Connor, our secondary coach. And Whit Richardson, our outside linebackers coach. Kind of looking at what we got going on this year, special teams-wise, as coaches, we got a lot of work we got to do. We graduate both our top 2 return men in kickoff return and punt return. We also lost our leading point scorer. A couple names that we're looking for to come in and compete very early is Kenny Anderson, transferred from College of San Mateo as a punter and kicker. He did a great job in spring ball punting. We got to work on his kicks a little bit, PAT field goals, but he's really solid on these kickoffs as well. And Casey Malafua from Lincoln North Star here in town coming off a surgery. He's going to be our long snapper. I'd also like to recognize Jordan Consbrook, who took Casey's spot on stuff later in the season, did a great job there. Our expectations for that is we got to be more consistent. We got to be able to maintain those blocks. We had a pretty decent run last year when we put linebackers back there returning the ball. Hopefully we can get some skill guys. A couple guys that might possibly be able to do that is Nate Arlt and Keenan Balaj. We're looking to return some of those kicks and punts for this upcoming year. Defensively, we take a hit. We graduated our top 6 tacklers. We graduated an all-conference defensive end and 4 of our 5 starting linebackers who were all conference. What we're expecting from our D-line is John Melise from Fremont Bergen, again Casey Malafua from Lincoln North Star, and Torrey Warren from Norfolk. Those guys had great springs. They're going to have to step up and mature really quickly. Casey's a sophomore, Torrey's going to be a junior, and John's our lone senior up front. We're expecting those guys to be leaders, kind of set the tempo, but that's going to be kind of not a revolving door for us this year, but we're going to play a lot of different faces there so we can get off the ball and hopefully create some mismatches. At linebacker, like I said, we graduated 4 of our 5, and 3 of them, or all 4 of them, are 3-year starters. This is going to be an ongoing competition throughout the year. Names that you might hear or should hear who had solid springs, who have to continue to get better, is Braulio Castillo from Columbus Lakeview, Curtis Hudeberg from Grand Island Senior High, Quincy Johnson from Carl Albert High School down in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. All those guys had a lot of playing experience last year, but like Coach Franz and some of the other coaches said, you know, when you replace a 22-year-old with a 19 or 20-year-old, there's going to be, you know, some hiccups, some bumps in the road. So we got to do a great job as coaches and make sure we put them in position to be successful. In the secondary, on the defensive side of the ball, this is one of the few positions that we return a lot of experience. We're expecting those guys to kind of carry us through most of this season. Returning back there is Garrett Griffith from D'Evelyn, Colorado, Stephen Bodine from Millard South, Kane Ellenberg from Jacksboro, Texas, and then Alex Gilden coming off a redshirt year from Valor Christian out in Colorado. Those guys will be expected, like I said, to show leadership and to keep everything in front of them this year. It's going to be a little bit different on the defensive side of the ball. So we're probably going to play a little bit more bend, don't break stuff from that. But that's us on the defensive side. Offensively, you know, I'll tell you what, we're pretty excited. You know, I kind of give the offensive coaches a lot of grief, but those guys have done a heck of a job over there. For the first time in a few years, we returned some experience. We return some great leadership over there, and we're going to rely on these guys for most of this season. And we're very excited. They had a great spring. You know, we just got to continue to get better. At quarterback, we return our top 3 guys. John Dosta from Omaha Gross, who took the majority of the snaps last year. He's going to come in as the clear-cut number 1 guy. At number 2 is going to be Matt Overmiller from Adams Central. He's going to be battling against Kendall Ferguson from Kimball, Nebraska. Those 2 guys are sophomores. It's kind of, let's go, guys. Let's push Johnny a little bit, but let's get a little bit more comfortable with the system. But we're having a lot of expectations for those 2 guys and John from a leadership standpoint. At running back, that's probably where we return to most of our experience. Keenan Balaj, who took over for Dalton Seeley last year in the first quarter, who was honorable mention all conference for us, he's coming back. Dalton Seeley's coming back off his injury. He's just going to be a sophomore. We graduated our starting fullback, but we moved Tyler Mertens from tight end to fullback. Tyler's from Waverly. He's done a great job. He's physical. We're looking forward to get him ball in his hands a little bit, whether it's, you know, some G options and things like that, or getting it to him out in the flat for throwing the football. So Tyler had a great spring. Wide receiver, we graduated both our starters, but we got some experience coming back there. Nick Blunt, coming off a redshirt year from Chabot Community College out in California. Nick's done a great job. A lot of times when guys face adversity, they kind of fold and kind of put it on the back burner and just kind of bail. Nick stuck around, did a great job in the classroom. And we're really expecting Nick to come out and do some good things for us. Nate Arlt from Adams Central, going to be a junior. Nate's about 5'10", but he's tough as all get out. He works hard on the screen game and does some things like that. So we're pretty excited about Nate. We got some good young ones coming in, but like some of the coaches said, again, they're young. They got to come in. They got to push our older guys. Our older guys are expected to be some good leaders for them. At O-line, we graduated an all-conference guard and an All-American tackle, but we returned the other 3 starters. The other 2 guys that will be coming in that finished up spring ball got a lot of reps last year. They played some games, so that's kind of nice. We don't have to just throw them to the fire right away. But some names at the O-line is Josh Watchhorn from Ponca, Derek Whipple from Chaparral, Colorado, and Tanner Paxton from Lincoln North Star, who started 9 of 10 games last year as a true freshman at left tackle, did a great job for us. So those are some guys right there. Tyler Mogilevsky is going to be a junior. He got some time last year. And then Eric Sullivan, a transfer from out California, will be back too. So we're really liking those guys, but they got to learn to mesh together. Tight end, we bring back Zane Anstein, who is an all-conference guy for us, who really came into his own last year catching the ball. He led us in receptions with only 25. That number's got to increase a little bit. But Zane has done a great job for us last year. This spring did a really good job blocking, really working on finishing his blocks. So we're really excited about Zane. And then Luke Ruhlman from Creed High is going to be coming into his junior year. We're looking forward to Luke to come out there and compete right away. And then Jordan Wallman from Beatrice. He's just going to be a sophomore. We're pretty excited about him. That's kind of us in a nutshell. You know, everybody's excited this time of year, which it should be. We're really looking forward. We got a great mix of young guys and old guys. Hastings College is doing a lot of great things out there with some leadership and things like that and some renovations. We're pretty excited with everything that's going on out there. But we just got to be able to hit the ground running on August 14th when everybody checks in, and we'll see what we got. Y'all have any questions? How to stay calm, which for me is kind of hard to do sometimes. You know, it was a great experience, and you know, I owe Coach Merck and Coach Robertson, those guys, a lot for giving me that opportunity. But our players, you know, I can't speak enough of them. They bought into what we were doing because we do some things that's a little bit half bubble off center. Our players bought into it. Our coaches have bought into it. So it was a great learning experience. But what we're going to take is, or what I'm going to personally take from last year, is I got to hold myself and our coaches and our players to a higher standard. We got to continue to get better and not rest on what happened last year. It gives us a huge advantage because he knows us and we know him. There's no guessing, hey, what's he going to do when practice is over with? John knows when practice is over with, his learning process is not over. He's got to come in, he's got to watch extra film, whether it's with a coach or on his own in our film room. And that's a good model for our sophomores, Matt and Kendall, but it's also good leadership for the offense in general. Plus, it allowed us in the spring to kind of tinker with our offense and put some different formations, some different plays in there with when it's compared to a guy who you don't know who's going to do it coming into two-a-days. You're kind of wanting to, well, like, let's play it safe. Well, we threw John to the fire and Matt and Kendall to the fire in the spring, and now when they come back for two-a-days, we can say, okay, this, and this, and they're going to be like, I remember that, let's try it. So that's a huge experience for us, or kind of rest there. Any other questions? All right, again, thank you all for coming out.
Thanks, Tony. Next to the podium is Northwestern head football coach Kyle Achterhoff. Kyle entering his third year now as the head coach, 15th overall at Northwestern on staff. 24-7 career record for Coach Achterhoff. Last year, as we talked about Doane, the Red Raiders got on a run during the season as well, and we're right there knocking at the door at the end, going 9-2 overall and 7-2 in the conference. Coach Kyle Achterhoff with Northwestern College.
Thanks, Corey. Well, like everybody else, I want to thank you all for being here, especially the media. I think this is a great venue. I think it's awesome for our conference to have an event like this to bring some notoriety and some press coverage, and so we really appreciate you being here. You know, I think everybody up here is really excited about the season, and as I kind of reflect on last year, I think that was kind of a transition year. I think everybody in the conference was really up in the air. What's it going to be like without USF? Sioux Falls isn't here, and it was an interesting year. I think now that we've kind of settled into the new GPAC, you know, it kind of brings back memories to me of the old NIAC years, the early GPAC years, where parity is the name of the conference right now. Everybody's solid. Each week you have to bring your A game because a lot of quality football is going to be played in the conference, and it should be a lot of fun. Obviously, at Northwestern, we're pretty excited as well about the year. When you have a group coming back with 22 seniors, 10 returning starters on offense, 9 guys that started games defensively for us, you got to be pretty optimistic. You're pretty excited, and we are. I probably have guys watching or will watch this, and I know I'm going to forget somebody's name. To those guys, I'm sorry, but they're going to hear it from me all fall anyhow, as it's not about them anyhow. It's about the team. So we're really excited about getting things rolling. Offensively, probably the biggest change is a new offensive coordinator. We lost Joel Penner to Malone College this winter, and we promoted Tyler Knobloch, our offensive line coach. He brings a certain amount of intensity to our group. That's probably where he made the biggest effect on our offense in the past, and he's bringing that to the whole group. You won't see a whole lot of changes offensively for us, but he'll definitely have his own flavor and his fingers in the offense. Again, one reason why we don't want to have a lot of new things going on offensively is the number of guys we have back. When you return 4 starting offensive linemen, 3 of those guys will be seniors, kind of led by Nathan Neuendorp, an all-conference player. He plays left guard for us. He's just a force up front, big, solid player. Tyler Klein is returning for his 3rd season, starting at left tackle. Will Van Toff starting at right guard. Just a solid group of seniors, and then a junior, Marcus Van Vorst, returning at right tackle. Just a great group up front. We have to replace Travis Hoffmeyer, probably one of the best centers that's played in the GPAC, and that's going to be a challenge. But we have a couple guys, Tyler Janota from Goliad, Texas, and Michael Stouffer from West Des Moines Valley, both guys that are going to compete for that position. At quarterback, everybody wonders about quarterback, and last year, we thought we had a plan, and we changed a little bit. We know who's going to be our starter this fall. Davis Blumendahl returns after being an undefeated starter for us. He won 8 games last year as a sophomore. He won 2 games the year before, starting a couple games when Jamie Roseboom was hurt. So Davis is just a solid player, calming force in the huddle, guy that really takes charge. He's not a huge vocal leader, but he just leads by example. And so Davis there is really important for us. The rest of our backfield, we have a couple of solid running backs returning. Obviously everybody knows Brandon Smith, and he's had another outstanding offseason, working out with Larry Fitzgerald and some other guys in Minneapolis. Kind of cool little story there. But Brandon will return as a returning All-American, first-team All-Conference guy and a real force. And Theo Bartman, who really came out last year as a sophomore, now in his junior year, just a solid player. When your 2 fastest guys on the team are your 2 starting running backs, that's a pretty good sign. And so we look forward to getting those guys the ball, both handing it to them, pitching it to them, and throwing the ball to them. So we're looking forward to that. At wide receiver, led by a couple of seniors, Eli Gronendijk, who we recruited off the basketball team a year ago. He had a pretty good season in his first year last year, but he'll be a senior this fall academically and will finish up. And Tyler Walker, who's been playing a little bit forever for us. And so the solid group there, and some really good depth at wide receiver. Bryce Biker's a junior from Sioux Center who's just keeps growing and maturing. And then a couple of sophomores that had some playing time last year, Ben Green and Jordan Mikuleff, 2 guys that did a lot for us even last year as freshmen. Tight end spot, we returned Taylor Dreiss, big target, 6'6", 250, solid player. Look forward to having him back for his senior year. And we recruited another basketball player off of our basketball team. J.C. Hoig started with us this spring. J.C. is really a phenomenal athlete, 6'4", 220, good speed. Will be another little change of pace at that tight end position as well. some of these coaches have talked about their defenses, and Raider defense has been something we've been known for. What Coach McCarty has built on that side of the ball is something really phenomenal, and we have a great group coming back there as well. Again, everything starts up front. Offensively, it starts up front with our offensive line. Defensively, Jordan Carlson at nose. Jordan's a force inside. I think people are surprised by how fast he is. He runs things down from behind, and it's kind of nice when play away, you still have to double team the nose. That kind of helps. Our linebackers love Jordan, obviously, because of that fact. But even at defensive end, we return Stan Fleming and Ethan Lynch, couple guys that will also be seniors. And then we have a couple of younger guys, Gerard Fluellen and Taylor Morris is back. Taylor is kind of a special teams force, and so we look forward to having good depth up front defensively, which frees up our 5 linebackers. And again, we lose our middle linebacker, Ben Aguilera, but we have 5 guys that started last year at different times. And, kind of led by Aaron Jansen, but Nate Fisher broke his collarbone partway through the season. In steps Isaiah Twitty. And for a lot of weeks while Isaiah was playing, there probably wasn't a better linebacker in the league. He really came into his own as a sophomore last year. He tore his ACL, so we slid Nate Van Ginkel inside. I think Nate had a couple of defensive touchdowns and a bunch of interceptions for us last year as our outside backer. But we slide Nate in, and Dylan Green gets more experience outside. So we're looking forward to another really experienced, solid group at linebacker. Secondary is probably the question mark for us. We returned Jarrell Kyles for his redshirt junior year. Jarrell is a force at one corner, just a solid athlete. We think he's one of the best corners in the league. Other side of the ball, Jermaine Ambrose, a sophomore from New Orleans, will be probably penciled in as a starter, but there's going to be some competition at that spot. And then at free safety, probably the biggest question mark, Zach Van Engen comes back after a redshirt year. He's a junior, great size from Rock Valley, Iowa. He's probably the front runner. We also have a senior, Ryan Hoekstra, and we're really excited about a freshman, Jake Zylstra, coming out from Washington. He's a stud player. His older brother plays at Eastern Washington, and Jake could make some noise as a freshman at that spot. In terms of the special teams, we return our kicker, Mike O'Brien, who had an outstanding year last year on kickoffs. We need to develop some consistency with his score kicking. Once we do that, we should be pretty solid at that position. Punter is another little bit of a question mark. We'll have some competition there. We lose our punter from last year, decided to move on and do some other things. But Davis Blumendahl punted as a freshman. So look out, coaches. We might be quick kicking quite a bit and doing some funky formations to make you wonder if we're going for it or if Davis is punting. So we'll see what happens there. In terms of the return game, we have everybody back. Theo Bartman, Jordan Mikuleff, Jesse Suggaby, Ben Green. All those guys have return experience for us. So we're really looking forward to that being a really solid part of our game. We start the season. Our guys report on August 12th, Sunday the 12th, and we open up with a Thursday night game, August 30, against Southwestern Kansas. And again, we're really looking forward to the season. So, any questions?
What happened after the first 3 games last year?
Yeah, we were at a crossroads. We really were. And we did make that change at quarterback, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily was the answer. Davis definitely stepped up and played extremely well. But, it was a decision the guys had to make because at that point the season can go either way. You can really get into a slide or you can bounce back and get back to work, and that's what they did.
How has Davis progressed this last season?
Tremendously. I can't even put words to what he's been able to do at quarterback for us. To kind of give you an idea, and Coach Franzen has this experience with Dunn in the past. You know, when you got a guy that's playing baseball also, it can make spring ball really challenging. Davis, I think, missed one spring ball practice this last spring. You know, and he's a starter on our baseball team, but he made an effort to be at every spring ball practice. And the guys recognize that. As a junior, he's a captain, and the guys really respect what he does for us.
What was the story with Brandon Smith and Larry Fitzgerald?
Brandon has a good friend up in Mankato. He's from Mankato. Dahl, I can't remember Dahl's first name, played at North Dakota. Defensive back with the Rams. He said, hey, I'm going to go work out in Minneapolis. This was last summer. You want to come along? And Brandon said, sure. He wasn't sure why they were going to Minneapolis to work out. He shows up, and there's 20 NFL players led by Larry Fitzgerald. He ended up going there 2 or 3 days a week to work out. So he's in tremendous shape. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Next to the podium is Concordia University and head coach Vance Winter in his third season as well as the head coach with the Bulldogs. Last year, the Concordia program was 4-7 overall. They went 3-6 in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Please welcome Vance Winter.
I think I'm the biggest guy on this stage, so I'm a little bit worried. We might be going down a little bit, but I want to thanks to Corey and the hospitality of the Country Inn and Suites. And I'd also, like to thank all the media members here. I'd also like to special thanks to our new sports information director, Jacob Knabel. I think if we can improve as a football team, as much as we improved in the media guides this year, we're going to be in great shape. Great shape. I think I speak for everyone when I say there's a great deal of excitement for the 2012 GPAC season. At Concordia, there's a huge amount of energy in regards to our new facility. And it's really surrounding our whole football program right now and the Seward community. Really thanks to the tireless efforts of many, we are so excited and so blessed to be moving into the new football wrestling facility within the PE building on the campus of Concordia University. This facility is so exciting to our returning players and alumni because they've seen the beautiful Walls Center that's on campus right now, and they've seen what's happened with that. I think the excitement level with that has been, we've been a part of it a little bit. But this is our own facility that's taking place right now, and so we're really excited about that happening. We're also excited about a much-needed scoreboard improvement being installed as we speak at Bulldog Stadium. Ken made a face right there regarding our old scoreboard. Much needed. I'm very excited. A big thing for us and a big goal for us is to light up that left side quite a bit more this year. Part of our athletic department mission is to provide a first-class athletic experience to our athletes and our fans. These upgrades to our facilities continue to show the university's commitment to the student-athlete experience and fan experience at Concordia. And as a football program, we really couldn't be more appreciative. We really view this as the start of a new era for our football program and a new era in our facility. Offensively, this spring was really exciting for us as well. I think it's no secret that as a football program, and in the 3 years I've been the head coach, we have struggled offensively on a weekly basis, and just to put consistent points on the board and consistently move the football. In March, we hired Kern White as our offensive coordinator, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. Coach White has been a part of a great deal of success at Missouri Valley College and has worked for 6 years under a head coach and a play caller who I have a great deal of respect for, Coach Paul Troth. I really believe Curran is overly ready for this opportunity. I think the buy-in factor from our returning players was extremely high this spring, and they were very receptive to the changes and picked up this things this spring at a very quick rate. We returned 8 guys who started for us, but that's pretty meaningless in the grand scheme of things because we're changing so many things offensively. And, it's a pretty open competition, even moving into the fall. I really like the focus and attitude of our guys this spring, and I really like the improvements our group made on offense this spring. We have some very good football players on offense, but they're very unproven, and we've got a lot of young talent who we're excited to see go to work. I think quarterback position, mainly, I think the talented but unproven tag could really talk about our quarterback position the most. We got 2 guys that this spring we were very pleased with their progress all spring. Vaughn Thomas is a redshirt freshman, actually going into redshirt sophomore year from Miami, Florida, and Justin Hahn, who's a redshirt freshman from St. Louis. Those 2 guys in the spring really competed and really got better on a practice-by-practice basis with a very aggressive install. I mean, Coach White installed his entire offensive package in the spring, and our guys did a good job of picking it up. At running back, Aaron Guillory from Houston, Texas had a great spring. Aaron's story is a tough story in terms of he was our starting running back 2 years ago, hurt his knee, I think, on his 3rd carry against Peru State, and has basically spent 2 years trying to come back and play from that injury. And we couldn't be more happy for Aaron that he's put himself in this position. And not many guys and not many young men would work as hard as he has to come back and play. So we're really excited about Aaron. He had a great spring. We're also excited about, a group of guys that we have coming as young guys in our backfield. Some very talented young guys and newcomers, and we really like our backfield group. Wide receiver, tight end. When you're transitioning from an option-based offense, you're worried about how you're going to handle that transition with your wide receiver, tight end group. Just because we haven't thrown the ball very much, and we expect to throw the ball quite a bit more. I thought of all the guys in the spring, the guy who did the best is Colton Quinabo, who is a senior wide receiver from Hawaii. He's a guy I want to mention just because I thought he had an outstanding spring and off season. He was our leading receiver last year, really meshed well with our quarterbacks in the spring. He's got the ability to beat man coverage, which is something we want to see, and we have lacked that ability. We have some guys that are solid football players, outstanding blockers, have been glorified guards in a lot of ways. Colton has the ability to make plays. O-line, 8 returning guys who played, 4 guys who have started before, a 5th who was a starter before knee injury in fall camp last year. So we got a nice group there. Defensively, if we've hung our hat on anything, it's been that we've been a pretty solid defense, that our defensive coordinator and our coaching staff and our players have given us a great opportunity to win week in, week out. We lose some outstanding football players from our senior class last year. Gerard Fleming, Ben Klein, Derek Rodine were all conference players. So we are short with experience depth at certain positions, but our expectations defensively are still very high. I think Coach Dabrico and his staff will have those guys playing fast and physical week after week, and we'll get a great group out there. Really defensively, we feel like we have some difference-maker type guys at every position group. We really do. But those guys have only shown in spurts to be dominant. And, I thought last year defensively we had probably our most physical tackling group that we've had at Concordia since I've been there. This group's got a lot to show and a lot to prove in that regard. But we need those guys that have shown spurts to be dominant, to be consistently dominant. And they have some talent, and we'll need all those guys to step up this fall. Some of the guys I want to mention defensively, Michael Volker's a 6'3", 255-pound D lineman from Lynn, Kansas. He's been a mainstay on our D line for a few years. Dylan Heitoff is a junior from Elgin, Nebraska, 6'5", 255, outside linebacker, DN type. Those 2 guys are, I think of all the players on our defense, the 2 guys that we're really going to rely on this year to be outstanding players. We really like our linebacker group, even though I think we lost just an outstanding linebacker last year. As a group, we have a chance to have an outstanding group again this year. All the guys that we have coming back have some returning playing experience. All three of them were honorable mention. Linebackers, senior Kyle Little, senior Tom Melander, and junior Langston Jones. All improved a great deal last season, and we expect great things out of them this fall. They're all physical, big backers, and that fit the odd front type of backer look that you want. Secondary-wise, we graduated a first-team all-conference safety who was a 3-year starter, Ben Klein. We like our secondary group, not very deep there yet, and we feel like, but some of these guys can really step up. Darnell Woods was a guy we moved to corner week 4 last year. He is a gigantic corner, but we really thought that was a great place where he could fit in. 6'3", 215-pound corner. Junior Drew Baxter from Rockwall, Texas. He started every game last year as a sophomore. Junior Derek Blessing. He was one of our leading rushers last year, and we really felt like we had a need at the defensive back position. We moved Derek over to defense. Our kicker, Kenny Zoller, comes back for his senior year. He had a great sophomore year, a very poor junior year. We expect him to have a great bounce-back year in 2012. We also added a few young guys at the kicker position that we feel great about that are going to provide great competition because it cost us last year. We weren't good enough in our kicking and a PAT field goal. Punting chores last year were handled by sophomore Joe Marshall from Malcolm, Nebraska. Joseph continued to improve in spring. We expect that area of our team to be much improved this fall. Our return units, really have lacked big play qualities. We think we got some guys that we can plug back there that are going to be electric-type return guys. And so we're really excited about those young guys coming in and proving themselves in that role. In closing, we really like our roster. We really like our roster. Feel like, as we've ground away and worked at this for 3 years, we feel like this is the most talented overall roster we've had in 3 years. However, if we don't improve at some key positions and in some key areas, the fact that we are more talented is not really going to matter. We have to be better. Everything talks about, but we haven't had consistently solid quarterback play for quite a while. We need to get that position fixed. Need to be a lot better there. I think up front, Coach White is going to get those guys going. We're going to play great up front. We're going to be a much improved offensive line this fall. Our football team through three seasons has improved a great deal on a week-by-week basis, but we haven't taken that giant step from an athletic standpoint, from on the football field standpoint that we've been working so hard for. That next step is coming for us, and we sincerely believe that. Are there any questions?
Without giving all your secrets.
I don't know if Coach Wilcox he has a good idea. Everybody probably up here has a good idea of what Missouri Valley has run in the past few years. Very similar, a lot of similar traits offensively. There's some new wrinkles that Coach White has added to base around our personnel, but no more option. No more option. More questions?
How much studying did you have to do to catch up in the offense?
Well, I think Coach White in Missouri Valley, they've built a system that's pretty simple and easy to understand. And, our guys really responded to that well. This spring was, in terms of the learning, we installed an entire offense within our spring ball period, and we're very excited with how just our guys grasped it and learned it.
What would you say would be your balance between running and passing on the offense now that the option's gone?
Well, I think everybody works for that 50-50. We still, we're not going to be a run and shoot football team. We want to be able to run the ball. I just think we needed to find a way to use our athletes better. We needed to find a way to use our athletes and spread out the field more. Because I think I don't really, I mentioned a few names and things like that, but I think we've got some guys that have some ability, and we can obviously move the chains better than we have been the past few years. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Vance. Next to the podium is, again, one of our first-year head coaches in the conference, Ross Simple, with Dakota Wesleyan University. And as we saw with Coach Gearing, it's nice to see someone who stays within the conference and and actually for 3 seasons has been at Dakota Wesleyan University, but comes over from the University of Sioux Falls and will now be entering his inaugural year as a head coach. So we welcome Coach Ross Simple from Dakota Wesleyan University.
I'd also like to thank Corey and everybody that was involved in putting this together. A great event, and I think it's something that kind of reflects the conference and the things that we can showcase. And everybody that's here involved, media and everything, thanks for being here. I'd also like to thank our sports information director, Leah Rado, who's over there, the only female in the room, so you guys should be able to find her pretty quickly. Guys, she does a great job putting all this stuff together, and I know I'm a huge pain for her most days, but she does a good job with that. I also have one of our coaches with us here today, Coach Zeke Prado, is our offensive coordinator. He kind of made the trip with us and everything else. So, like Corey has said, I've been in this conference since 2002 as a player and as a coach, and just feel very fortunate and a huge privilege for me to be up on this stage with all the coaches here that I've either played against or coached against. I mean, I have a lot of respect for everyone up here, and it's a huge privilege for me. And in my opinion, I mean, since playing here and coaching this league, it's the toughest league in the country, in my opinion. And, so that's something that week in and week out, it's going to be a huge preparation week for us. And like a lot of the other coaches have mentioned, we have to play our best games. And, we're hoping to be one of those elite teams. Now, I'm not saying that so everybody can put that on their billboard. I mean, are we going to be there next year? I have no idea. But that's our goal. I mean, we want to move forward, and we want it to be a lot quicker than maybe in the past, but that's something we'll have to work for. So just a little bit about our recruiting wise. I think our coaches have done a great job of recruiting. We're going to focus in South Dakota. We dipped into Nebraska a little bit and did a lot of good things there and signed about 48 kids that we feel really good about. And so hopefully there's some guys in there, and we're going to have a lot of guys that freshman wise they're going to play for us in some way, shape, or form. They're going to play. I don't know if they're starters or whatever, but we're going to have a lot of young guys playing. Kind of start with our special teams. Our special teams, for a lack of, better word, we're terrible. I felt like they were not very good. I think a lot of it was personnel. I think a lot of it was schematically. And that's on us as coaching-wise. And Coach Glasgow, our linebacker coach, is going to be our special teams coordinator this year, and he does a good job. He's going to be very detail-oriented. We do return our Derek Carlson, who will be our punter this year, and Anthony Meilenberg, who will do a lot of return stuff, as well as Arthur Brown, be involved with our return game. We have 2 freshman kickers right now, so the kicking off from the 25 is a huge plus for us. Hopefully, and I guarantee you they won't have any touchbacks, so things are going to work out pretty well for us. But Gus Haskell from Del Rapids is a freshman, and then Daniel Porter from Plattsmouth, Nebraska is 2 kids that we'll try out there and see who can kind of win the job for us on our special teams. But defensively, I think this is an area that we took probably the biggest hit in terms of starters that we lost. We graduated all 3 of our starting defensive linemen. Our 2 all-conference DNs, Zach Recker and Aaron Rowland, are both juniors on the football field, but they were seniors academically, and they decided to kind of pursue their future and do some of those things. 2 quality kids that you want to keep around, and that was kind of a big hit for us. And then Marco Mora, who was an all-conference honorable mention nose guard for us. We played about 7 guys last year. The 3 guys that we have coming back will all be juniors next year. Craig Hengelfelt, Matt Tuttle, and Eric Gruss are all kind of guys that played a ton last year and did some pretty good things, but they're going to have to take the next step. It's going to, what we do up front is going to be really based on what those guys can do. Hopefully a guy coming in, Calvin Hunhoff from Bertrand, Nebraska, big kid that we feel like can maybe make a difference for us, whether it's in spot duty or, if he kind of takes a big step and could be a starter for us. But that's kind of our defensive line setup. Linebackers is going to be the strength of our defense. We return everybody back off our linebacking core. We started 2 freshman outside linebackers last year, and one guy, Jeff Mawson, had 4.5 or 5.5 sacks last season. A guy that kind of just, the light bulb went off for him last game of the year. I guess better late than never, but as a true freshman, he got it figured out, and he's going to be a huge part of that. Mike Barneau led the conference in sacks last year. He'll be the only senior out of that group. And then Jordan Hermanson, who started our first 5 games, broke his leg in the Dordt game, which is the 5th game of the year. All those guys will be back, and got a few more guys coming in that had to start in injury roles and things like that we feel pretty good about. So our linebackers are going to have to make a lot of hay for us and kind of set the tempo for us. Defensive back-wise, this is where we graduated 3 of our 4 starters. The one guy we got returned is Dustin Bergmeyer, and he's a pretty good football player for us, a very smart football player. You know, he would probably be the one guy that Coach Rathman's tailback runs away from. I mean, he's not very fast, but, man, the kid can play ball and puts himself in a good spot. DB-wise, we're going to have a lot of freshman kids. They're going to open tryout and see who can play ball. And we're going to have to do some different things schematically to kind of help us with that. And, you know, so that'll be the one area that we're going to really look for some guys August 13th that can come in and play football right away for us. So that's kind of our defensive standpoint right now. Offensively, I think, is probably going to be the one area that we're going to have to lean on very, very heavily. And with Coach Prado taking over the offense this spring, kind of implemented a whole new system in terms of what we're doing. And, you know, I like the way that it looks right now. As a defensive coordinator this spring, I was really upset because they killed us. As a head coach, I was super excited. So it's kind of one of those deals. But offensively, we got some guys, and the strength of our offense will be in our backfield. With John Bain coming back, he's started the last 20 games at quarterback for us and threw for 2,800 yards and 28 touchdowns last year. And Josh Enders came back as a tailback, and he'll be a senior, as well as Francois Barneau, who'll be a junior, and then Arthur Brown played as a true freshman last year. And those are 3 guys that they have to be on the field in some way, shape, or form, along with Anthony Meilenberg, who's a returning All-American for us. So skill positions-wise, we have some guys coming back that we feel pretty good about that can definitely make some plays. It's just however Coach Prado is going to figure out how getting them the ball all the time is what we're going to have to deal with. Offensive line-wise, we graduated 1 senior on that group, and we actually get a returning all-conference guy back from an ACL injury, Eric Whitty. He tore his ACL in fall camp last year, so he didn't play at all. But we got Kyle Hankey, who played as a true freshman last year at center, and then he's probably going to move to a guard spot, and Eric will move back into his center spot. Nathan Little at left tackle, played quite a bit, real all-conference player for us. And then Spencer Block is a kid that's really done a lot of good things. He was a true sophomore. He'll be a true sophomore, big 6'8", 290-pound kid. Played a lot last year, and you know, so that's kind of where we're looking for some guys to come in, and you know, hopefully offensively they can stay on the field a little bit for us, so defensively we can you know, lick our wounds over on that side of the ball a little bit. So other than that, I mean, offensively we got some guys coming in that we'd like to highlight. Trevor Schroeder, a kid from Canastota, South Dakota, just down the road from Mitchell, played in back-to-back state championship games. Big 6'4", 190-pound kid right now that can run pretty well. Physically, he's not quite matured enough to be there yet, but he's a guy that we need to have on the field in some way, shape, or form. Austin Schroeder is another kid out of Winter, South Dakota, 6'6", about a 255-pound kid. He'll play on the offensive line for us and somewhere. And then Mitch Breen, who was at University of Sioux Falls originally the last 2 seasons. He's from my hometown, and I know Mitch really well, and he's going to come down and fit into our backfield and wide receiver spots a little bit. So we have some tools. It's the process of putting it all together, and what we can do from there is going to be the big question mark for us. And like I said, our goal is to be an elite team in this league, and when that happens, I couldn't tell you. And but we're going to play our best guys, whether they're freshmen or seniors, and hopefully that message has gotten across to our guys that we don't it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. I mean, it's what have you done for me lately, and we're going to play those guys, period. So it's about, you know, a lot of the other coaches said building the culture and how we're going to get to where we need to be, and the guys that are going to do things a certain way, those are the guys we're going with. And, you know, we brought in 48 guys, and all those guys, they make up more than half of our team. So it kind of shows where we're at and where we want to go. So any questions?
Coach, you were 5-0, or you weren't, but the team was 5-0 to start last year, 1-4 on the back half of that. Does that indicate sort of a culture change that you need to create there, or what do you make of what happened last season?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously the second half of the season was not how we wanted it to go. And I think a big part of that was some of our guys really felt like we could go into those games and win those ball games, but it wasn't everybody. And there wasn't an expectation that we wanted to go in and play really well and win this game. That wasn't kind of our mindset. And for whatever reason, I mean, it's just kind of one of those deals. And I think that was our big problem, that, you know, you lose a tough game to a great Morningside team, then you go play Doane and lose a tough game there. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that we should have won those games, because if we should have, we would have. And, we didn't. So I think it's something where having an expectation of going into a game and saying, hey, we're going to try to win this game and do whatever it takes to get there, that's what we're trying to do. And that's where I'm going to try to figure out where we're going to be in August and where that mindset is at. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ross. And again, welcome to the conference. And our final coach today, again, one of our first-year head coaches in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. He is the second coach in the history of Dordt College football. Greg Youngblood comes to Dordt College from Waldorf College, and that will be his first game. So that'll be an interesting dynamic, but we welcome Greg to the mix as well as our next coach to the podium.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate being here. I really appreciate representing Dordt College. It's been very exciting to be a part of the program since January, building on the successes that they've worked to build the last 4 years. I really think that I want to give a lot of credit to Coach Huebner. He started building a program from scratch, and it's a lot of work. And even though you don't see those successes on the field a lot of times, you can look at the young men in our program currently and see that he did a lot of great things, him and his staff. And so we want to build on that. We want to keep that program moving forward. We know we've got a long ways to go still, with 4 years of varsity football and with a great level of football in the GPAC. We know that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we're very excited. We feel like we've got a great university that represents the right things, represents a great education, playing in a Christian environment that's a neat place for guys to be. My staff was fortunate to be able to hire some really good young coaches. Coach Gabe Belisario is in the back. He's comes to us from Sterling College. He's our defensive coordinator, our recruiting coordinator. Coach Adam Langvart is our special teams coach. He'll coordinate the special teams. He'll be our safeties coach. He comes to us from Malone University as well, and we'll do a great job there. Coach Mike Garner has been our offensive line coach. Was very fortunate to inherit him, and he's a very experienced coach from Texas in the high school ranks, and he does a great job. So those are our full-time coaches. I would just say the expectations for this season, again, the mission of our college as being a Christian university and a great academic school is, first and foremost, we want to glorify and honor God with everything we do. So we want to have a class program. We want to have a program that when we play, we'd see that on the field. Our guys would be respectful to officials and players, would not be trash talkers, would be guys that would respect everyone, would do things the right way. So we're very, very much about that. We want to develop guys for the future, to be great husbands, great fathers, great citizens. So that's really how we want to define success in our program. Of course, along the way, we want to be a very competitive football program. And as I mentioned, we're still new in the process. We've got a ways to go, but we're very excited about our ability to get there. Our focus is going to be on being the best we can be, on taking the guys we've got and making sure we play at the highest of our potential. If we can do that, if we can focus on getting better every day and getting better every season, we'll get to where we need to be. So those are going to be our things. We're going to focus a lot on ourselves, what we're about, and making sure we're doing things the right way. As far as our team goes, we've got 60 young men returning that Coach had brought in before, and great young men, great character guys. Have some solid players in that bunch. Some guys that have some playing experience. Being a young team early on means that they got some time, and so now we got some guys that have some playing experience and ready to go for their junior and senior years and do some great things. We got 40 new players, guys that we felt like in a transition year, we felt pretty good about our recruiting class. And you never know till you get them on the field and see what they can do, but we feel like we got a good nucleus there. Our strengths, I would say, would probably be our offensive line. We do return 4 out of 5 starters, so that's got to be something that we know is we're very excited about and something that we're looking forward to using. We also have some experience at some key positions. Some guys I'll just mention, going back to the O-line, Owen Ronaldo, Jordan Huseman, those are guys that anchor that O-line. Some receiver, David Grease, linebacker, Seth Vandervoort, defensive back from Nebraska, John Leachins, are guys that have had that game experience, and we're very excited about what they're going to bring to our team. Overall, we're just ready to go, and we're excited being a great conference. And I'll close with that, and if there's any questions, I can answer specifics.
To what you had at Waldorf, please.
Mm-hmm. Waldorf was a junior college for a long time, and in 2003 they went to a 4-year college. So in some ways it was a building process there, like a new program, but they had football before, so it wasn't like you're buying the first helmet and recruiting the first player. Dort's a great place because they've got some things in place as far as facilities and as far as the resources to attract great young men, and they do it the right way. They're not going to lead necessarily with athletics. It's going to be about the environment, about the students that they bring, the quality students. But it's a place you can be successful. You can recruit a higher caliber person because it's a success-oriented place, and you can get people that are motivated to be their best in a place like Dort. So I'm very excited about that. I think it's been a great opportunity for me. The identity of our team, I think, to go back with the class of our program, we want to be a first-class team. And we would hope that other teams would see that if we're doing things the right way, and that we're going to represent our school, like I said, glorify and honor God with everything we're doing. We want that to be our staple. But at the same time, we want to be competitive, and we want to be a tough football team, a physical football team. We want to be a team that has great effort, great discipline. And so those are all qualities that everybody's looking for. But I think if we can see those things, then the winning will take care of itself. So we want to focus on those parts of it. Yeah, it'll be an emotional game. I was there for 5 years, and so most of all the returners will obviously be guys I recruited, and very close with a lot of the people there still. And so, it'll be an emotional game. One of our potential quarterbacks transferred from there is with me at Dort, and so if he ends up winning the starting role, that'll be emotional for both of us. But that happens a lot, I guess, in football. So.
In the Mid-States Midwest, did you see something different coming to a team in conference?
The Mid-States is a great conference for sure. I think to me they're both the two elite conferences. So I'll know more once I've been through a season. But I know from the outside in, the Great Plains is as tough as any conference there is. And so there's a lot of good players, and a lot of good coaches. So I'll know more after the season. But I know they're both very strong. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Greg, and that concludes our coaches for the afternoon. My thanks to all 10 of these head coaches up here for their comments and what they do for their colleges and universities, and obviously in how they represent the Great Plains Athletic Conference as well. The coaches have their ballots. They're going to go ahead and fill those out. Media, you also have ballots this year if you would like to fill those out at this time. If anybody on the media side still needs a ballot, come see me up here. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and do those, and we'll be back shortly with the preseason polls, both media and coaches.
At 47, deciding to start Jimmy John was a big surprise. I'd been a stockbroker for 25 years. I ate at Jimmy John's on the way to see my son play soccer. I knew that was my life's passion, to open sandwich shops. I own 15 stores now. I love that I can get up each day and have new challenges to conquer and new places to go and new people to meet. To really grow my business and get to the next level, I have to have a bank that stands behind me. Thanks to Union Bank, and realize my dream.
All right, welcome back to GPAC Football Media Day. It's time to announce the polls for the 2012 season. This year, for the first year, we are doing 2 polls. We're doing the annual coaches poll, which is the official preseason poll of the conference, and then we are doing for the first time a media poll. And we'll get to the media poll second. We're going to start with the 10 coaches' votes up here. These coaches cannot vote for themselves, and we will begin with that poll. GPAC Coaches Poll 2012, 10th place, preseason, Dordt College, 12 points. 9th, Briar Cliff, 16. 8th, Concordia, 24. 7th, Nebraska Wesleyan, 38. And then we had a 3-way tie for 4th. Dakota Wesleyan, Doane, and Midland, 51 points for all 3. Dakota Wesleyan, Doane, Midland, all at 51. 3rd, preseason, coaches poll, Hastings, 53. 2nd, with 76 points and 4 first-place votes, Morningside. And the preseason coaches number 1, 6 first-place votes, 78 points, Northwestern. Top down. First, coaches poll, Northwestern, 78 points, 6 first place votes. Second, Morningside with 76 and 4 first place votes. Third was Hastings with 53. Tied for fourth, three-way tie, Dakota Wesleyan, Doane, and Midland, 51. Seventh, Nebraska Wesleyan with 38. Eighth, Concordia, 24. Ninth, Briar Cliff with 16. And 10th was Dort with 12. And now our inaugural media poll for the Great Plains Athletic Conference. There were 8 voting parties here today, 8 voting parties. They voted the top 10. They voted for all teams in their poll. 10th, Dort with 9. 9th, Briar Cliff with 15. 8th in the media poll, Concordia, 31. 7th, Dakota Wesleyan, 34. 6th, Nebraska Wesleyan, 45. 5th, Midland, 47. 4th, media poll was Hastings with 49. Third place, Doane with 60. In the media poll in second place, they received 74 points and 3 first place votes, Northwestern. And the number 1 spot in the media poll with 76 points and 5 first place votes is Morningside. Top down on the media. Top down. First, Morningside, 76, 5 first place votes. Second, Northwestern, 74, 3 first place votes. Third was Doane with 60. Fourth, Hastings with 49. Fifth, Midland with 47. Sixth, Nebraska Wesleyan with 45. Seventh, Dakota Wesleyan with 34. Eighth, Concordia, 31. Ninth, Briar Cliff, 15. And 10th, Dort with 9. That should tell you right there, judging by the polls, it's going to be a fun year. Who knows where it's going to come out here by first and second weekend in November. Media, thank you for joining us today and being a part of Media Day 2012. We'll see you back next year in Sioux City for Media Day 2013. Coaches, thank you for your time. Best of luck in your preseason camps. Stay cool, stay safe, keep them hydrated, and we wish you all the best for this fall. That does conclude GPAC Media Day 2012. Thanks again to Country Inn and Suites here in Lincoln for hosting us. On behalf of the Great Plains Athletic Conference, this is Corey Westra. We'll see you out in the fields.